Let's welcome in our morning guest at this point of time. We have Vijay Chopra with us, Shrikant Shetty is with us, as well as Ashish Chaturmoha is with us. Samit Chavan will join us in just a bit. Shrikant, let's start with you. What are your picks?
So we're looking at banking space where we like Icici Bank. I think that's looking interesting among the large caps. And if you look at the large caps, I think we find value in ONGC. So that's where we like ONGC. So these are a couple of within the large caps where we think there is value within the space. But overall, we continue to like the financials, the cement space. I think these are spaces which should do well in the near term. And of course, not to say that yes, the markets look a bit expensive in terms of valuations. So we need to be a bit careful there. But overall, within the large cap space, we see more value. So that's where I think ICICI, ONGC are stocks which one can look at from an investment perspective. From overall sectoral perspective, I think infrastructure as a space does offer opportunities, though it's very difficult to pick stocks in that space. So probably we are participating in cement there. So maybe from a trading perspective, stocks like India Cement, Grasim, these look attractive.
Ashish, what are your calls?
Hi, morning Pankaj. So my first pick would be a long idea on Nagarjuna Construction Company, which is looking very interesting. We have seen a very strong, delivery volumes pick up in the stock, and as well as trading activity has increased in the stock. Last time we recommended the stock around 85 levels, and it almost reached our target of 101 levels. From there, it saw some correction and now consolidated in a range between 93 to 100 for a couple of weeks. So I think now this stock is poised for a stronger move, and we might expect this stock to test 115 in days to come. So I think another 15 to 20% upside could be seen in NCC from current levels. One can initiate a long, keeping a stop below 94.50 for an upside target of 115 in next 3 to 4 weeks in NCC. My other long bet would be Engineers India, which is again a stock which has been consolidating for many years in this range between 170 to almost 120 on downside. Now I think this stock is poised for a clear breakout above this resistance zone of 170, 171, and once that happens, I think this stock has a potential to test 190, 195 zone in days to come. So I think one can initiate a long position in Engineers India at current levels, keeping a stop below 162, and upside can look for a target of 195 to 200 in next 3 to 5 weeks in Engineers India. And my last bet would be a long idea on India Cement, which has again seen a very strong open interest addition yesterday, and I think this stock is looking good for almost 235, 240 targets in days to come. So one can initiate a long at current levels, keeping a stop below 215 for an upside target of 240 levels.
All right, 3 picks coming in from Ashish. Vijay, good morning. What are your top picks?
I would also be, talking about the cement sector, and I think that infra and cement should do well over a period of time. So there are stocks related to the same. India Cements are already talked about by Ashish. The current market price is 221. I would recommend a target of 240 on the stock, and the stop loss of 210 should be strictly kept. My second call would be Grasim. The last closing price was 1174. It could be bought for a short-term target of 1200 and a medium-term target of 1300. And people who take positions in the position calls, they can buy into the stock. I would recommend a stop loss also of 1150. And finally, L&T, which is looking very good to me as of now, with the perspective that it's one of the major names in the capital goods space, as well as the potential of doing some major contracts in the defense space. So the stock closed at 1742. It could be bought for a target of 1800, and a stop loss of 1710 should be strictly kept on the stock.
Right. There have been some changes proposed by MSCI. It was widely expected. It has come in today morning or yesterday night, India time. So what has happened is, firstly, India's weightage in the emerging markets would go up 10.5 versus 10.2%, which is there currently. This will, of course, be effective 1st of June. So about from now, till 1st of June, there will be these adjustments that happen. Two major stocks have been added and one has been deleted from the index. Apart from that, in the MSCI India Index, small cap index, a lot of additions and deletions keep happening. Two additions are IOC, that's Indian Oil Corporation, and Rural Electrification Corporation, that's REC. And one deletion is DV's Labs. Of course, that's for the movement that has happened so far on DV's. In terms of flows, there are also a lot of names where weightages have increased. So for Grasim, you've seen an increase in weightage. For ICICI, you have seen an increase in weightage. And these are the estimated flows. So for IOC, 240 million. For ICICI, 153 million. REC 70 odd million, and Grasim about 54 million. You also have Bharti Airtel, where there is a marginal weight change which has taken it to 44 million of expectation. In terms of deletion, DV's Lab will see a decline of around 29 to 30 million in terms of outflows. Adani Ports and Z, there are weightage changes. Of course, they are still very much a part of MSCI index. So these are some passive outflows that are expected from now to 31st of May.
And we also got the trade data for the month of April coming through. The trade deficit has widened to $13.2 billion versus $10.4 billion that we saw in March. Exports continued with a strong performance, double-digit growth coming in the month of April as well. So the export growth was nearly 20%, slightly lower than the 27.5% we did in the month of March. But imports have seen an even bigger jump, mainly on the back of increased gold and crude imports. So imports for the month of April were up 49% compared to 45.3%. As a result, we have seen the trade deficit widening.
Right. You will also have Vedanta that will be in focus. Results came out during market hours yesterday. We focused on numbers just towards the closing. Post that, they had a call as well as some further details coming in that they have announced a dividend policy. So announce a minimum 30% payout of the dividend policy. Companies will give regular dividend from Hindustan Zinc to their shareholders as and when they get. They have also raised their FY18 capex. Earlier estimates was about 0.8 billion, which is now up to about 1.2 billion. Don't really think it moves the needle, or anybody is worried about this big changes. Post this policy, post these numbers, new target prices on your screen. Deutsche Bank 330 rupees maintains its positive stance. Macquarie 321 rupees. Credit Suisse and Citi are the other two companies where we have targets. So Credit Suisse 290 and outperform rating, and Citi also maintains its positive stance 313. So that's what the new target prices for Vedanta is. Shrikant, what's your call on Vedanta Limited? Are you surprised by the new dividend policy?
No, I think it's not a surprise, but it's good that there is more clarity now on the dividend policy. So that will help in terms of valuations going ahead. So there's clear clarity in terms of they would be paying out 30% of the XZL profitability, which is a good thing. So any clarity on dividend policy will help, I think, in terms of valuations. And the overall commodity cycle seems to be, holding out well. So overall, the outlook remains promising there. From a valuation point of view, we do have a kind of neutral rating currently. So we are not looking at too much of upsides in the near term.
All right, we've got earnings coming in from Bata India and JK Tyres as well. Let's quickly take you through the earnings. For the retail player Bata, we saw profit higher at 35.9 crore rupees. The revenues were up about 6%. The EBITDA was flat at 56.7 crore rupees. EBITDA margins contracted about 50 basis points, coming in at 9.5%. It seems that the growth has come at the cost of gross margins, which were down by 320 basis points. And the company came out with new collections for men and women both in the fourth quarter. That would have driven some sales. As for JK Tyres, it was a disappointing fourth quarter. Profits were down 28% at 88.8 crore rupees. We saw income growing 21%, coming in at 2,309 crore rupees. EBITDA was up 26.9% at 200 crore rupees. Margins were lower at 9.3% versus 15.8%. The other income was much higher, which perhaps explains increase in total income, coming in at 46.9 crore rupees versus 6.4 crore rupees. Vijay, you have a view on Bata. From the retail space, these companies are expected to benefit from the GST rollout. What do you make of the earnings? The stock has done very well, rewarding its investors. Should they stay invested? Should they look at booking profits? What's your call?
Well, I think they should stay invested, and it's a consumption story. My sense is that Bata has the capacity and capability of going up to 650, and it is an investment stock. It's not a trading stock at all. So people who are having a knack of investing into stocks, having positions with a medium-term perspective, they can definitely get into the stock. And the results have been more or less in line, and I believe so that the current momentum of the stock will keep on propelling it to another 75 rupees. So 650 would be a level which I would watch out for. So definitely hold on to the stock.
All right. Ashish, do you have a view on JK Tyres? We've seen the profits fall, but it took support a day earlier around the 20-day moving average, and today in pre-open seems up 2%. What would you do with JK Tyres? Ashish, your view on JK Tyres?
Yeah, see, so the entire tire space is looking, very interesting, and most of these stocks are trading at their all-time highs, and we have seen a very strong volume activity in these stocks. So I think JK Tyre is one stock in the mid-cap space which looks very interesting for a target of 182, 183 in short term. So at current levels, one can initiate a long, keeping a stop below 166 levels.
Right. There were a lot of other mid-cap companies that declared numbers. Let's just look at them. So Skipper Limited was one of them, where profits went up to about 52 crores versus 36 crores. The total income came in at 583 crores. So these are the numbers. You'll hear from the management also pretty soon. You had EBITDA, which came in close to 91 crores versus 73 crores, and the margins expanded by 200 basis points. Chennai Petro, there was a decline on a quarter-on-quarter basis, but I think it's got to do with the one-off that they have taken. So overall, the profits came at 170 crores. There was a decline. There was some one-off write-offs that they have taken, 9,486 crores. That's where the revenue number came in. EBITDA was about 4.6%. You had crude oil throughput at about 2.09 million tons. So that's broadly the volume number. That's the margin for you, and the volume number as well. Indocount, one would say that there was a disappointment over there. You had 48 crores in terms of profits versus estimates of around 56. YOY number is 68 crores on your screen. The total income came at about 5,112 crores, and EBITDA was down by about 26%. Overall, this was a miss on most count. Let's look at Voltamp transformers as well. So you have profits at about 22 crores. You have total income, which came in at 222 crores. Numbers were broadly good. It was led by a small margin expansion that you had seen. Maybe there is a positive bias on the stock throughout the day today. Web of Global, at least on the face of it, numbers are looking great. You have margins which have almost become double. You have profitability which has almost become double, 122% growth, and the total income is up close to about 8.5 odd percent. So that's broadly the results post market hours or mid cap stocks that you would look forward to. Let's also welcome in Samit Chauhan now. He's joining us this morning. Samit, quickly, 1 minute to go for markets to open. What are your top picks?
Our first pick would be from the metal space. We haven't quite upbeat since last 4-5 days on Tata Steel. It has already formed a strong base around 200-day moving average, and yesterday we saw good positive traction. So we expect continuation of this rally. 468 would be our target. Now it can be bought with a stop loss of 449. Second buy would be on Dish TV, which certainly looks good if you look at the weekly chart. So we have a target of 106 for Dish TV. Stop loss would be around 94. And our third call would be a buy call on Siemens, which has been maintaining its strong uptrend. Yesterday we saw good positive traction. So we expect this stock to move towards 1500, 1520 over the next few sessions. So one can buy with a stop loss of 1380.
Right. Market should open just in the next few seconds or so. A lot of stocks will be in focus. Picks coming in from our guest. A lot of companies that declare numbers today. A lot of companies that declared numbers post-market hours yesterday. So all of that will be in focus. Just waiting for markets to open. There you go in terms of first trade. Aurobindo Pharma flat with a positive bias. Dr. Reddy's, there is a launch. It was among the top gainers yesterday. It's up another 20 rupees today. BPCL is down about 2 rupees. Cipla is down close to 2 rupees. You have Asian Paints, that's 1 rupee. Higher, and ACC is up around 5 to 6 odd rupees. Eicher Motor 29,000. The stock has really not looked back once since the results have been announced. Tata Steel results today was up 5%. Yesterday is up another 1% odd today as well. So looking in decently strong for Tata Steel as well. IOC 1% higher. It's an addition into the MSCI index, but it was widely expected. But still, nevertheless, you have those passive flows coming in, and that's why you're seeing this sort of a reaction. So IOC is up around 1% or so. Bharti Airtel, a marginal inflow compared, of course, to the size of Bharti. It's definitely marginal. So about 1.5, 1.6 odd percent higher for Bharti Airtel. Airtel, 369, 367 for Bharti Airtel. So that's also looking on the positive side. Dr. Reddy's absolutely flat, 20 rupees here and there, but they have done a new launch, and that's why probably it's reacting slightly on the positive side. About 9,000 shares traded for Dr. Reddy's. Ultratech 30 rupees higher, 5,000 shares traded, 4,468. That's where Ultratech is trading right now. About 6,000 shares already traded for Ultratech. Let's also look at some of the other names and what's happening in the mid cap space. So you have a Bhushan Steel, which is up 2%. You have Adani Power, which is up 2%. Indo Solar is doing well, and Gravita India is also up about 11%. No particular news flow that I can identify on Gravita India, but it's up close to 3%. You have Skipper Limited, which is up around 5% right now, 207. You'll hear from the management pretty soon of Skipper Limited. And you have Natco Pharma, which is up close to about 2.5%. Voltam Transformer reacting to numbers, it's up 5%. Polaris Consulting is reacting to numbers, it's up 4%. Webhub Global is also up around 4.9 odd percent. So that's also looking on the positive side. Monte Carlo is up about 2.3, 2.4 odd percent. Again, looking in strong, but no news flow. And one would say that even volumes are not that great. So you would just probably wait for volume action to pick up. Federal Bank is down about 1%. Idea Cellular is down close to about 1% or so. You have Petronet LNG, which is on the lower side, and JK Tyre is also down. Anisha, any other names with volumes that you can pick up?
Well, Pankaj, you have listed most of them. Gravita, of course, has moved up well on high volumes. It's up 10% now. And there is this one stock, Indo Solar. It's up 15% now. Now, it is sub 10 rupees, but for this entire week, it's up 60% now. So, the solar stocks are buzzing last Friday, and Indo Solar has just continued with its up move. Hindustan Construction is up 2.5%. We also have India Cements, which is a pick by two of our guests, up 2%. Bharti Airtel is up 2%, and amongst the steel stocks, the smaller steel stocks like Visa Steel, Bhushan Steel, Electro Steel, Steels, all of them are buzzing and are up about 1.5% or so. Amongst the steel players, we also have JSW Steel and Tata Steel that have moved up well. REC is up 1%, and even Hindustan Construction and NCC are higher today. Chennai Petroleum is down 4%, maybe on its earnings, and JK Tyres is down 3%. Now, Petronet LNG also seeing some profit taking down about 2% or thereabouts. So that's those are the movers. What would you do, Samit, with some of the high flyers from the oil and gas space now? There has been an agreement about between Saudi Arabia and Russia on maintaining the supply cuts. Do you think stocks like Reliance, Cairn, ONGC could be headed higher from here? Question is for you, Samit. What's your take on Reliance and on ONGC?
See, if you talk about the broader degree chart structure, then yes, certainly Reliance looks good, and it has a potential to surpass its all-time highs quite soon. But with a near-term view, probably next couple of weeks, we expect some consolidation in the stock, wherein the range would be slightly broader. 1450, 1440 seems to be an immediate hurdle, and on the low side, we see buying emerging at 1300, 1320, which has been acting as a very strong support. So at least for next couple of weeks, we expect some consolidation, but any dip within this consolidation would be a very good buying opportunity. And as I said, we expect Reliance to surpass its all-time highs quite soon.
All right. What about some of the stocks like Tata Steel, Shrikant? It's going to come out with its earnings. The expectation on volume growth is about 6% for its domestic business on a sequential basis. The stock has done well. It's reached nearly 460 levels now. Do you think it's good for more?
I think it'll depend on the results, how it plays out, because it's a results day to day. So the expectation is that the EU business will also see some strong improvement on a QOQ basis. So if that is the case, I think there can be some more upsides, because a large part of it will depend on how the operations play out and how the developments there in terms of reduction of debt, all the plans which they have made in terms of sale plays out. So if there's more clarity on that, I think that should help. But yeah, given the overall steel cycle, there can be positive. But our preferred pick in the metal space has been JSW Steel and Hindalco. that is what we prefer from a positional and investment perspective.
Right. Shrikant, what do you make of Shree Cement? Shree Cement will declare numbers today. Do you think it will continue to outperform the way it has for so many quarters and months?
Yeah, I think it's been one of the best performing companies in terms of and has been able to deliver a strong growth. And now that there is going to be volume growth as well going ahead. So we do believe that it will continue to be one of the strong performers in the segment. The valuations are a bit rich there. But in terms of bottom line performance, I think it will continue to deliver.
Right. Ashish, what will be your call on REC? It's been included in the MSCI index, so there is some positive tick there today.
Yeah, marginally, but definitely I think the stock is in a trend, and we have been recommending the stock since 140 odd levels, and I think stock looks very interesting for a target of 240, 242 in a shorter term. One can initiate a long at current levels, keeping a stop below 214.15. We are seeing the stock trading at its all-time high, and we have seen a considerable amount of open interest addition, and despite such a sharp uptick in the price, we have not seen any significant reduction in the open interest. That clearly indicates that those who are holding on the positions are sticking to their positions, and that clearly indicates the kind of conviction most of the traders having in this stock.
But do you think the trend is still on the positive side, so it will continue to do well?
Yeah, I think so, because that's what I've been mentioning, that the kind of open interest we are seeing in the stock and it is continuing going forward clearly indicates the conviction traders have in this stock, and that's the reason we are seeing this kind of volume as well as open interest activity even at its all-time high levels.
Right. Just in terms of the power sector, any names that you like? Because it's not that REC can only go up if power sector is not doing well. Do you like any names over there? Do you think that power sector will recover?
Yeah, I think so. And see, within the public sector undertaking, we have been mentioning stocks like REC, PFC and Power Grid, and within that PFC is our top pick. I think this stock has consolidated for last 3-4 weeks in a range between 169 on upside to 160 on downside, and I think now around 160, 159 the stock has a very strong support. So in terms of risk reward, this is one stock where in terms of risk we have just 2.5 rupees risk on downside, whereas on upside this stock has a potential to cross 170 mark, and once that happens, I think this stock is also poised for a move towards 185 zone.
Right. In terms of TCS, any call, Ashish? Buyback starts from 18th, that's day after tomorrow. Do you think that will act as a catalyst for the stock?
So we are seeing the activity in the IT space, and today also we have seen good amount of price action in TCS, and I think this stock has a potential to test 2450 to 2480 zone in next 1-2 trading sessions. But within the IT space, I think Mindtree is one stock which looks very interesting to us, because this stock has formed a strong double bottom formation, and now once it sustains beyond this 520 mark, I think this stock has a potential to test 560, 570 zone. So Mindtree is our top pick within the mid cap IT space.
Right. Shrikant, what will be your call on TCS? Based on buyback, would you want to take a tactically positive call?
From a trade perspective, maybe a small up move till about 2450, 2500 probably possible. But overall, I think headwinds remain in the sector, so I don't think you want to go aggressive on an investment kind of view in any of the technology names as of now. So from a valuation point of view, there is not too much downsides, whether it's Infosys, whether it's TCS. There may not be too much downsides in here.
Right. Do you think that Bharti and Idea numbers were decent, or how would you look into the numbers? There was a lot of cost-cutting activity which led to a positive EBITDA surprise.
Yeah, we were a bit positively surprised by the Idea numbers in particular, where we were expecting a decline in profitability, and they've been able to maintain the profitability. So that is where the network costs have gone down. So they've been able to maintain the numbers, which is kind of a bit positive, but we still would want to see for a couple of quarters before we take any positive stance on the telecom space. We think the uncertainty will still continue. So from a long-term perspective, maybe Bharti and Idea post merger of Vodafone will be ones which one can look at from an investment perspective. But near term, I think the headwinds could continue.
Right. Just in terms of Inox Wind, you track that company, or the house tracks that company. What was your call on Inox Wind now after the numbers? Do you think you were negatively surprised by what came out?
So I think if you look at the last couple of quarters, there's been disappointment in terms of performance, and we've had a neutral rating on the stock earlier as well, given the last quarter's performance. So I think there's been a conscious effort by the company as well to scale down business where they want to address the working capital issue which they're currently facing. So I think that's where we are seeing near-term pressures in the margin. So we will probably have a review on it later. But as of now, we continue to have a neutral stance. I think we need to see some improvement coming through before we take a positive stance on the company.
Right. Just in terms of power sector, do you like that space? I'm not only talking about wind anymore, but do you like the power sector?
See, broadly, power space has not done much. I mean, if you look at overall performance-wise, there's not much happening there. But if you want to look at power as an investment space, then probably the larger caps like Power Grid, NTPC, they remain the best bets out here from investment point of view. It's going to be limited return kind of space, but yeah, one can look at Power Grid and NTPC.
Right. Vijay, just in terms of mid-cap names, do you see now tactically one should be more bullish or overweight on the large cap versus the mid-cap space because mid-caps have done well, or it really doesn't matter if company continues to outperform in terms of numbers?
Well, I think that this is a bull market, and you'll see large caps, small caps, and mid caps all performing. My sense is that we should be stock specific and and sector specific. Need not be cap specific. So I think that there's going to be a rally all around. Quality names should perform. Even in the large cap space, there are certain sectors which probably might not do that well. But I think that it's a time where you can be even in small caps and mid caps and selective large caps as well. So I see a growth, all around growth in the markets. There would be some kind of blips on the radar. There would be some kind of corrections happening. But I suppose that there would be an overall growth in sector-wise growth in the stock. So any good sector, if you pick, for example, if you look at the agri space, if you look at the defense space, so even quality small caps, mid caps are performing. So my sense is that we in stock specific stories in sectors which look good, it's a better strategy to earn money in the markets.
And Vijay, what do you make of the numbers so far? Overall numbers versus the flow, is it lower than estimates or in line with estimates considering the way you're getting flows?
Well, I would say looking at the demonetization which happened and looking at the way the companies have come back from such a financial shock, I would say the results have been overall in line. I won't say they are bad. I won't say they are extremely good. But definitely they are overall in line, and barring a few sectors like technology and healthcare, I think that the sense is in the markets is that we are going to see some good quarters. In the next couple of quarters, we're going to see some good numbers happening because we see a good monsoon happening. So consumption should be propelled by the monsoons, and I'm sure that industry output would also pick up in the coming few quarters. So I'm quite hopeful that the next 2-3 quarters are going to be extremely good, better than what we have done so far. But overall, the result season has been satisfactory. I won't say it is bad, or I won't say it is extremely good. But yes, I'm fairly satisfied with the numbers.
Right. Samit, any call on Petronet LNG? So there was expectation it will be a part of MSCI, but I think nothing has come. So it's down about 1 to 2% odd. Would you be a buyer? Okay, I think Samit cannot hear us, but let's ask Ashish the same question. Ashish, what is your call on Petronet LNG?
Yeah, today we have seen a considerable amount of open interest addition of almost 8%, and the stock is down almost 2%. So I think there is some short build-up, but looking into the recovery from lower levels, I think this stock has a very strong support around 430 zone. Until it doesn't break 430, I would not advise anyone to go short in the stock because it's structurally a very strong counter, and we have seen a consistent build-up in the position. So I think till it doesn't break 430, there will not be any strong selling pressure in the stock. However, in case if it breaks 430, then definitely a dip towards 410 could be seen. But in case if it recovers and doesn't break 430, then I think there can be equally a strong short covering as well, which can take stock towards 455, 457 zone.
Right, but as of now, what is your call? No trade zone?
No trade zone. I think we should wait, and if after 12 o'clock it doesn't break 430, then definitely there is a good amount of buying interest at lower levels.
Right. Ashish, what would be your call on India Cement? Are you surprised by the move of India Cement in the last 3 months?
No, because it was our top pick, and today also we recommended this stock. And I think looking into the broader, this cement space rally, this is one stock which was consolidating for almost last 1-2 weeks, and now it has given a clear breakout with a lot of volume interest. So I think now we are poised for a move towards 240, 242 zone in a shorter term.
Right, Shrikant, any view on India cement? Has anything changed fundamentally?
Nothing on that front. I mean, broadly, obviously, cement, if you look at it, the sector is doing extremely well, and the expectation is that this is a space which will continue to do well in terms of demand. There's been pricing improvement, there's been demand, potentially there can be demand improvement, volume growth. So clearly, the sector which will continue to do well. And the India cement, if you look at it erstwhile, I mean, it has been one of the big underperformers earlier. So it has been a late participant into the cement rally. So maybe that is, so there's some amount of catch-up probably happening there.
Right. Samit, what would be your call on Bharat Finance? It's been very volatile, but in a range. Do you think it will continue to be in that range of 750 to 800, 810?
Yes, after December, Jan, we have witnessed a decent recovery in the stock from the lower levels of 460, 470, and since last couple of months, it's been just consolidating. So this is more of a time-wise correction that is quite possible after a very strong recovery. So the range would be 750, 760 on the lower side, and higher side 830, 835 seems to be an important hurdle. So we would wait for a breakout to happen on either side. Once we see a breakout in the upward direction, probably beyond 825, 830, we could see resumption of higher degree uptrend, and in that case, the stock can move towards 860, 870 levels. As of now, there's a range, and we expect this consolidation to continue.
Right, Samit, any view on Federal Bank? That's a name which is down 1% now.
See, this stock has already given a stupendous rally from lower levels of 60, 65 in a span of 5 to 6 months. This stock has now reached its important ratio of 117, 118, which has been acting as a strong hurdle since last 3 to 4 trading sessions. So we expect now some consolidation in this stock. So those who have bought it at lower levels, probably when this stock was in 2 digits, so they can now take some money off the table and stay on the sideline. So we expect some consolidation or minor profit booking. In that case, the stock can correct back to 105, 106 level. The overall trend remains bullish. So if you have a 5 to 6 months view, this stock is clearly buy on dips counter. So wait for a dip, and we expect some consolidation in this counter.
You said that it's a buy on a dip. At what level would you want to buy or start to relook at it?
See, as I said, we expect minor profit booking consolidation. The stock can correct back to 105, 102 levels, which can then act as a very strong support with a broader degree view. So one can initiate fresh longs only on dips in this zone, wherein 105, 102 would act as a very strong support zone.
Right. Adani Power is up 7%. Samit, any view on that name?
See, honestly, generally we don't track this counter considering its inconsistent activity. On charts, we don't see any signal. The stock has been consolidating in a range since last month and a half, and we expect this consolidation to continue. Range would be 33, 34 on the higher side would act as a very strong resistance, and this stock has already given it decent down move in last 1.5 months. So we expect continuation of this downward trajectory at least towards 28, 27 levels.
Right. Vijay, any call on ICICI Bank?
I think that it is clearly headed towards 330. The results have been overall in line, barring the one major NPA which they had declared. My sense is that the stock has been consolidating well on the lower levels, and above 310 it should be a breakout, and 330 is seemingly looking quite possible on the charts as well as fundamentally.
Right. Mr. Shetty, what would you do with ICICI Bank? You think after the recent run-up, valuations are full, or there is still room for upside?
I think it's been one of the laggards in that space because of its overexposure to corporate debt. So we've started to see some improvement in that cycle coming through, and we are positive on ICICI Bank. We think it's among the larger caps in the in the financials, in the banking space, ICICI Bank does look attractive.
Right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking out time for us. Always good to get a perspective from you. Just before we go, Shrikant, let's start with you. Any disclosures?
No personal holdings, but clients may have positions in the stocks which you have discussed.
Mr. Chopra, for you?
No personal holdings. We keep on recommending the stocks we have talked about to our clients.
Ashish, for you?
A few of the stocks which we have discussed have been recommended to our clients. I do not have any personal holding in any of them.
And Samit, finally for you?
Personally, I don't have any holdings, but our client might be having positions.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking out time for